Hello, everybody. It is October 2nd, 2016, and my name is Dan Arell here on Emperor's League Corner on the Gamers Archive podcast channel. Yesterday was day 3 of the League of Legends World Championship group stages, and we had a pretty memorable day and more proof that this World Championship is unlike and more unpredictable than any other that we've had so far. Before we jump into day 4 at all, let's just give you a quick rundown on what happened on day 3. International wildcard Albus Nox Luna took out North America's Counter Logic Gaming. Rocks Tigers took out G2 Esports. Cloud9 beat Flash Wolves in a 70-minute, insane, ridiculous, every adjective that's similar kind of game. SK Telecom took out IMA. Team Solo Mid beat Splice in a very good game, and Samsung Galaxy shocked Royal Never Give Up. All right, now one thing we've going back to how unpredictable Worlds has been. We've only finished 3 days, and I believe there is only two unbeaten teams left. And shockingly enough, they were the two teams who were in the World Finals last year. Rocks, who was at the time Q Tigers, and SK Telecom. Now predictions, they were okay. They could have been better, but went 4-2 on the day yesterday. Definitely did not have Albus Nox beating CLG, and then I had RNG over Samsung. So at least there were games that were like shockers and kind of not really. It's not like I just picked the worst team. I mean, although CLG did play like they were a bad team. We're gonna get to today's, well, I'm sorry, this evening's games. We're going to start off first with AHQ versus INTZ. Um, INTZ, I believe it was, yeah, they lost to H2K on Friday, and AHQ dropped to EDG. Um, this is going to be kind of a redemption game for one of these teams. Whether AHQ, I did believe they subbed out Westor in Friday's matchup. No word if they're gonna put him back in or not. I'm not sure. But INTZ, of course, coming off a loss to AHQ, or not, sorry, H2K, after having a fantastic and unbelievable game against EDG. I think the matchup to look forward here is Mountain versus Revolta in the jungle. It's going to be really interesting to see if Revolta can bounce back from a loss to H2K. Um, I'm going to be, I've never really been on the international wildcard, hype train bandwagon. Uh, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to HQ here. I do think they will bounce back. I think Mountain will have a fantastic game from the jungle. But like I said, this one has me really torn. I really can't give you a lot of reasons why I have AHQ winning because I am still myself not entirely sure. But I'm just gonna say AHQ and leave it at that. Next, we have Edward Gaming versus H2K. Edward Gaming took out AHQ on Friday, and H2K took out INTZ. So two teams who are getting on the right foot now, getting their first win of the Worlds. And one of these teams is going to go 2-1, and it'll be in a good spot. That team is going to be EDG. They looked fantastic the second game. Of course, after being completely tilted and triggered by losing to INTZ, I do have EDG. I think it's the bot lane that's going to be a big thing here because we saw Forgiven and Vander against INTZ played well. Then against AHQ, they really didn't play too well. So it's a tough kind of toss up. I do think Deft and Miko are better duo, and I think that's going to be a huge thing. I'm not sure if they're going to have Pawn. I think they're still going to have Pawn in. So it'll be Pawn versus Ryu. That's going to be another really good matchup. I am gonna say that I think Ryu could edge it out a little bit, but his positioning has been a little questionable as of late. So, uh, I I do think Pawn's gonna show up, whether he plays or Scout plays. It doesn't really matter. I have EDG winning this one. Albus Nox Luda versus the winless G2 Esports. Now, this is a very interesting matchup because we saw yesterday Albus Nox completely just wipe the map with Counter Logic Gaming. This is a really tough one to kind of go for because I'm looking at it this way. Albus Nox beat CLG. CLG beat G2. Does that mean that Albus Nox is going to be able to beat G2? My my heart's telling me yes, because after watching yesterday's game, I really became a big fan of Liquid. He's especially that in that interview afterwards, just completely killed me. It was one of the coolest interviews I've ever seen, and I would love to see it again. He's unlike any support that's really at this world championship. I think if they had to like make him any similar to anybody as far as playstyle, it would be Mata, because they're both super super aggressive. Could be both be really big playmakers. We saw Lecrit yesterday on Tom Kench, and I think he still did like 15% of the team's damage on a solid tank support. It's pretty good. As we saw him, he actually I think 1v1 Huhi at some point in the game. Like, how do you 1v1 with a Tom? Well, I guess it is Tom Kench, but taking out a Syndra, that's pretty impressive. Uh, will they be able to take G2? I'm gonna say no. I'm just gonna say no. I think that G2 is gonna start, coming back. I do think Sven and Mithy are a kind of a newer breed in this. Like, it's kind of like the quote new breed in this group. They play to their own style. They play a little bit of a different style than the rest of the teams in the group. I don't think that they are going to end up winning, though. No, no. Yeah, I'm gonna go G2 just for the specific reason of the bot lane. I don't know if Lecurt will be able to do to Sven and Mithy what he was able to do to Stixay and Afro and the rest of CLG, but I am gonna go G2, and then they're gonna get their first win of the World Championship. All right, next we got Counter Logic Gaming versus the Rocks Tigers. CLG coming off of an upset loss to Albus Nox, and Rocks Tigers coming off of a win off of G2. In this game, I think it's very easy, very, very what's the word? What's the words I'm looking for? I don't think I have to give many reasons for this, but I do think Rocks will win this game. Smeb versus Darshan is a matchup I've really been looking forward to seeing here at Worlds. Prey and Gorilla is just too good. Kuro is too good. Peanut, too good. I think Peanut versus Smithy is going to be a big mismatch. Kuro versus Huhi, I have Kuro winning that one hands down. And Prey Gorilla, I have beating Stixay and Afro. So everybody, like all lanes for Rocks, I think are just gonna they're just gonna 3-lane it, destroy everything, get a pretty sizable gold lead to win the game. Because CLG's also, they have to be tilted losing to Albus Nox. They just have to be. There's no way that you lose to an international wildcard team and be able to bounce back. Not to mention to play a Korean team who's still unbeaten. I do have Rocks Tigers running away with this game. Next after that, we have SK Telecom T1, defending world champions, versus the Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves came off of a 70-minute loss to Cloud9, where they had a pretty good lead early on. Actually, for the first 40 minutes of the game, they had a big lead. They completely controlled the map. Anyway, SKT coming off of a win versus China's IMA, a rather convincing win. I have SKT winning this. Really no contest. We saw with Flash Wolves, They know how to get a lead. They know how to play with a lead. The only thing they do not know how to do is how to close out games. And if they for some ungodly reason came out with a way to get a big lead on SKT, and they played, yeah, like how they played against Cloud9, it's gonna be the same result. Cloud9 can close out games way better. I'm sorry, SKT can close out games way better than Cloud9 can, and I don't even think it's gonna get to that point. SKT is playing very good League of Legends. They're coming up to form, like they showed at MSI, and once again they're showing that the international stage is, kind of the big. This is the big time for them. I really don't have to go into any specifics. I just know that SKT is going to win this game. That's all I got to say. And to close out the game, to close out the day, sorry, Cloud9 versus IMA. Cloud9 coming off of a 70-minute win versus the Flash Wolves, and IMA coming off of pretty big loss to SKT. Meteos seems to be the big question for me still. And as we saw yesterday, and as everybody mentioned on it, his Lee Sin for the first 40 minutes was absolutely dreadful. He was so bad. Like, I think he had one. He was like involved in one kill, even though Cloud9 only had like 2 kills. They really weren't. He really wasn't doing anything. He wasn't landing his sonic waves. His flash kicks were just not really too effective. And then it's like all of a sudden, 40 minutes, something clicks in Meteos, and he's landing every sonic wave. His flash ults are fantastic. He's landing everything, and they're catching primary targets. So if that Meteos can show up again, I think Cloud9 will beat IMA. If not, and IMA comes out on a big lead, like how the Flash Wolves had yesterday, I think IMA will be able to close it out. No word if they're going to be starting Athena. I wish that they would. That would actually, I think it would drastically improve IMA's chances. Because as we saw, I believe it was it not yesterday, but was it Thursday? No, it wasn't Thursday. Oh, it was Friday against Flash Wolves. Athena played pretty well. So I'm not sure why they subbed out, but of course they played against SKT, so you could have had just about anybody that isn't the Rocks Tigers play them, and it would be an SKT win either way. But just to go down, I'm going to have AHQ over INTZ, EDG over H2K, G2 over Albus Nox Luna, Rocks Tigers over Counter Logic Gaming, SK Telecom T1 over the Flash Wolves, and I have Cloud9 over IMA. Now, since this is the last day until next Thursday, we'll not be doing any videos as far as the World Championship goes. So I will be back on this Thursday, October 6th, where we kick off with the Rocks Tigers and G2. So I hope you guys enjoy today of the World Championships, and we will see you next Thursday for day 5 of the group stage.